Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Fokondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, Liberia, for Liberia, yeah, 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 yeah. From Monday to Sunday, from Monday to Sunday, it's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, eh, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another session of Focus on Liberia on the Marketplace. I am your host, Gabriel Carter. Today is going to be a very quick session. Uh, I think this is something important. I think we should talk about. I was going to take the day out. We were going to take the day out, but I figured this is very important to talk about to give you a little bit of perspectives on what is happening with HPX deal. I think if you guys remember, a few months ago, this deal was talked about in Liberia, and people had a lot of questions in terms of what kind of company, what they were trying to do with the railroads, whether they were going to meet the end of the bargain, and that actually kind of fizzled out of the limelight, which usually happens with everything we do in Liberia. Usually, people make noise, and then usually it fizzled out on the back end. However, this deal was actually signed by the government of Liberia for the exploration of iron ore in the St. John River, right? So it was signed for 250, they gave them 250 kilometers, square kilometers of exploration space. That is the corridor from Yekepa to Buchanan. That is, if you convert that to miles, for those of you who drives, that is about 96.5 or 0.4 miles long. So that is it covered a huge distance. And if you're in Liberia, you probably know that corridor as well. So that's what we want to talk about today. So wherever you are, please take the time, share the show, and come with your questions. For me, I just want to give a high level overview of, hopefully things that should have been considered in terms of how it should have been priced, how it should have been structured, based on the volatility of commodity prices on the market, how, on our end, when I mean on our end, meaning the government of Liberia, the type of contract they should have put forward, what type of clauses should have been in there, what type of clauses in terms of demand they should have made in terms of, based on the volatility in the market to protect themselves. Now, I would look at both sides of the equation. I will look at the buy side, and I will also look at the sell side. The buy side, meaning I will look at the HPX side of things, because, again, this is an analysis that I'm doing. But I also want to look at the the sell side, which is on our end, the government of Liberia, that is selling this, uh, that sold actually this iron ore exploration licenses to HPX. So those are the two sides we're going to look at, um, and then give you a high level overview of it. There are a lot of questions. I don't think I'll be able to answer all of them in terms of the one that I have based on the time we have, but hopefully I'll be able to give you enough to be able to make your own decision and uh, you know walk away with something. Thank you. Again, wherever you are, take your time and share the show. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So if you haven't read the article, uh, HPX, which is stands for high power exploration, and again, as I mentioned earlier, acquired the exploration licenses of from BHP. BHP is an Australian company, a conglomerate that does exploration. So they sold it to HPX, and the government of Liberia ended up signing that. So they bought those licenses, right? And again, as I said earlier, the area that they were given spanned from Yekepa to Bikana. And again, if you want to convert that to miles, that is about square 96 miles. That is huge. I live in Massachusetts here. From Massachusetts to Rhode Island is about and 40. So that's quite a bit of a distance. You can even go beyond to Connecticut, uh, almost getting to New York. So that's how much of a distance that covers, right? So that's what happens, right? And again, as I said earlier, we've heard about HPX. We know that they have other transactions going on in uh, Guinea, in the region, in West Africa. Matter of fact, they're doubling down on West Africa in terms of their exploration strategy. And I think Liberia is actually one of the countries that they have focus on. Um, and as I said earlier, they made uh, their initial attempts were to, uh, you know, the first deal that they wanted to do, and I think there was a lot of questions on that transaction. And I think that ended up fizzling out. People made noises in terms of the structure. Matter of fact, nobody knew who HPX, was at the time. But I think as we done our due diligence, which I hope all of you have, we got a better understanding of who they are. This is an American company um, that is, has a heavy focus in West Africa. So as I said earlier, they bought the St. John uh, iron ore uh, licenses. What does that mean from our end of Liberia? First of all, just give me 1 second here. 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. I want to make sure I follow along my questions. All right. Uh, where are we? Okay. So, um, So, as I said, the government of Liberia approved it, and that transaction. So, from Yekepa to Buchanan, they have, matter of fact, the U.S. Geological Services did analysis on that area, that entire corridor. In addition, HPX also has their team do an analysis on that corridor as well. So they're estimating about 650 million megaton of iron ore exploration quantity in that region. Now, for those of you, let's as I said, we want to look at both sides of the equation. Let's look at the HPX side, right? Because I want to be fair here, right? So HPS is, as I said, is a multinational, if you want to call it that, right? They're based in Guinea, that at least that I'm aware of, and now in Liberia, company that does exploration. So from their end, because of their size, I think They're worth about maybe 10 billion or so. Um, the kind of transaction they do are very small. This is why the first company, BHP, could not do that transaction because for them it was too small of a deal to deploy that capital in. So what they did instead, they sold it to HPX, which does smaller transaction, right? So they bought that transaction, those licenses from BH, BHP, right? Nobody, I don't, and this is, I'm gonna go off a tangent here a little bit. I wish some Liberian knew some of these things are actually out there for sale. I think there are people that have money. Some of us can, put some monies together and, Ali put it in a pot and join it on the investment. But those are things that we were not aware of. We didn't even know this license were off for sale. The sale was actually uh, secretive. Nobody was aware of it. But anyway, let's get to the point here. So on the HPX side, I mean the HPX side, they understood that the quantity of iron ore in that region or in that corridor was worth exploring, right? As I said earlier, this is 650 million megaton. To put that in perspective, let me tell you the valuation, right? So the current price of iron ore on the global market is $96 per megaton, right? It went as high, I think in June it was about 119. So, but for conservative purposes, let's stick with the $96, right? That is about 62.4 billion market valuation as of today. That whole corridor, that quantity of iron ore as we speak right now, valuation on the market. Now, at the time in June, it was trading at $119. That could be worth at the time that would be about 77 billion in US dollars valuation, right? So from the iron ore, I mean from HPF perspective, this is a very, very, very lucrative deal uh, by any measure. Now, let's be honest. As I said, we let's look at this thing from a uh, acquisition standpoint, right? We usually let's look at it from a merger and acquisition standpoint. In this case, they're acquiring. So for HPX, they're going to, come into the country. They're going to have the machineries. This is a capital intensive exploration, right? This is very, very capital intensive. For them, they've already have the assurance because they've done their due diligence that there is explorable quantity in that region. So they've done their due diligence already. They've done their exploration. The next thing that they're going to do is to now, you know, slowly begin to move their team in the country, right? Whether it's in Yekapa or in Bikana, right? They're going to start bringing in machineries. Now, on their end, I don't know whether they get tax breaks based on how the deal was structured. That is another whole discussion for another time. They're going to start bringing in their machinery. They're going to start, you know, exploring, you know, the exploration process with the iron ore process, right? Now, as I said, this is very capital intensive. These kind of machinery cost millions of dollars, right? Which I don't think in our case, when I mean our case, the government of Liberia is willing to put up, right? So this is going to be very capital intensive on their end. So from a negotiating standpoint, this is one of their leverage, right? This could be one of their leverages in terms of saying this is a very capital intensive. We're going to put all the capital in. We're not asking you for any money. The other leverage that they have in a negotiating table is that the the infrastructure, right? If you mine the iron ore, you have to bring it, transport it to whether you're transporting it to the port of Buchanan or you're taking it to the free port of Monrovia. There's a infrastructure problem, so you're gonna have to deal with that. In our case, that corridor of roads are not very, they're not in the best of shape, right? So another strategy or leverage could be that, this is a corridor of road that is not in the best of shape, uh, and because we're going to be doing operation here, the improvement of that road, that whole corridor of road from Jacob to Buchanan to out of the Freeport will be something that HPS undertake, right? So again, that could be one of their leverages in terms of bargaining at the discussion table. So in their case, the capital intensive, the infrastructure, uh, everything that has to do with, getting to the iron ore, the government of Liberia is not putting in any money. Matter of fact, we don't even have the money to put into it, right? So they have the biggest a big leverage here to negotiate. That's their side of that equation, right? Now let's look at the sell side. Sell side meaning this is our end, right?
That's
This
their side of that equation.
this is our side of that equation, right? Meaning the government of Liberia that is selling. The only advantage we have here is that the assets, meaning we have the iron ore, but we don't have the capital to explore it, right? We don't have the capital to explore it. We don't have, we don't have the technical staff that it has to explore it. How do we negotiate this process, right? Hey, Percy, welcome,
What's up,
brother.
man?
Hey,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you for joining. I was doing a one take here, but I'm glad you actually joined. So, if you, I don't know if you've been following, I am doing a take on the HPX acquisition of the iron ore licenses in the St. John uh, River. Um, that transaction was currently approved by the government of Liberia for 250 square kilometers of corridor that is from Yekepa to Bikana. Um, and they have done their due diligence and have found that there is 650 million ton of iron ore, which is, exploration quality or quantity. Um, not
Where they
only
doing that again?
in between the whole corridor of Yekepa and Bikana,
I
right?
thought HPX were operating in Guinea and they needed to bring the ore from Guinea in because to get to the
That was
coastal
the
side
that
of
was
Guinea to come down is longer, but it's shorter to come from Guinea to that corridor to come down to the port of Buchanan and they
that
export
was
the ore. They didn't know they were mining iron ore in Liberia.
that is the trick that they played on I think all of us, that hey, they just need a permission to go through that region. But as we speak right now, they have acquired that license from BHP, which is actually an Australian company as well. And that transaction, as we speak, has been signed, agreed, or approved by the government of Liberia. You and I haven't heard
So
about
where's
it.
the mining going on again? What county is going on in?
So from Yekepa, I think Yekepa is in is it in
It's in
Nimba?
Nimba.
Yeah. So from
Yeah, but I thought
Yekepa to
ArcelorMittal is there already.
yeah. So those licenses in the St. John River were being held, were actually sold to BHP, and they've had it for a long time. They were sitting on it. Now BHP, if you're not aware, they're an Australian company, very big, a conglomerate, right?
I know
But
BHP.
for them, I think that quantity of iron ore is too small of a quantity for them to explore. So for them, it wasn't worth their time. So they sat on those licenses, waiting for the right company to come along, right? And here we are, and that was actually sold to HPX, right? So that corridor is about 250 square kilometers. That's about 96 miles, right? And if you drive a lot, you know how long of a distance that can cover, right? So that was sold. So for me, I think when I came on to talk about this, there are a few questions that I wanted to look at. To look at one, the buy side, meaning uh, HPX side of the deal, but also look at the sell side as well, meaning the government of Liberia side of the deal, how that was structured, or at least in this case, we can uh, make a lot of assumption because you and I don't know anything about that transaction. But I wanted to look at both sides in terms of what leverages they had in terms of to negotiate, and but most importantly, you look at the price of iron ore on the global market, and make sense of it in terms of what the government of Liberia should have asked for, how they should have structured that from their side of things, and based on the duration of the contract, how they based on the duration of the contract and the exposure to HPX, how they could have um, leveraged that to maybe get a lot out of it. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Any thoughts before we continue?
Uh, no, this is new to me. I didn't know HPX had interest in mining ore in Liberia, and if they were mining ore, that would be in the same Yeke part that we have accelerometer already operating.
Right.
Um, if that's so, how many mountains we talking about here? Because I thought accelerometer, accelerometer was doing the Nimba mountain already. So is there another mountain range that they got license for?
So, well, apparently there was, because those licenses were held by BHP.
PHP.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So,
So the
so in
government like
addition
Liberia
to,
awarded the government like Liberia awarded BHP a mining license, not exploration license, but a mining license. So the BHP had a mining license that they have been sitting on for how long?
I think this was probably during Ellen time.
So you see, that's the thing. If you follow the news, um, what the name in Niger, what the junta just did there was cancel a uranium license from a French company. They've been
Hmm.
operating, they've been having a license and sitting on it for X amount of time, and they wasn't exploring uranium in the country, and so
Correct.
the junta went ahead and canceled that license. So I don't understand why our government they think people hate hurt, right? Because we sit there and we talk this thing every weekend. I don't understand why our government would give somebody a mining license and the person does not mine for almost a decade or close to a decade, and they still
And
have
sit
that
on it.
license to be
Right.
valid. And
Right.
now this person is going to make money off of something that they never did anything just by holding the license. They never did
Hmm.
any exploration, nothing. Now they're going to sell it for billions of dollars or millions of dollars at the expense of our people in our country, right? And then a new company are going to come there. This is sickening, right? I hate to come here and talk about this thing because we go to school, we learn these people system, we understand these things. Like again, if you're out there today and you're listening, like real problem is not education. We have enough educated people in our country, right? A lot of us are out here that know these things, that know how these things are supposed to work. But you have and you have your government that they don't care about these things, right? I mean, just think about it. I'm sorry, I'm going off tangent, but
No, no, no.
this is
Go,
what
go
the
right ahead.
reality is, right? The guys had license for almost because if it's Ellen time, Ellen was in power for 12 years. If they give them license, I don't know if it was in the first term or second term. Whatever amount of years, that's just almost a decade. Even if you stay sitting on the license for six,
Yep.
7, 10, almost 8 years, that's almost a decade the license. Meanwhile, we are crying for jobs for our people. We are crying for roads for our people. We are crying for healthcare facility for our people. But we sold something that was supposed to be generating value, and this person just sat on it for forever and ever and ever, and now they're gonna just sell it. You can like it's hard to talk because we love this country too. It's just hard to sit and see what's happening to it.
So
It's
here's
kind of
my
hard to
question to you.
see.
Here's
Uh-huh.
my question. Here's my question to you. And I think you make a good point in terms of uh, this conversation can go, could go south quick if we really dive into this. You do make a good point in terms of they could have exercised their right. And again, this is all comes to structure and how you structure it. And this is one of the things we're going to talk about. It all comes to how they structure that initial transaction with BHP, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there was a clause in that contract, initial contract with BHP, that says if you sit on this thing, if you don't explore, it will sell this to you. If you don't explore within this amount
Yeah.
of many years, we have the right to revoke that license and then revoke that contract from you, or take it, or have the the right to sell it to somebody else, to sell it to somebody else, right? But here's the point that I wanted to make. Maybe you can answer that as well. You have so HPX was uh, is an American company.
Mm-hmm.
BPH is an Australian company.
Mm-hmm.
It was sold to uh, an American company.
Mm-hmm.
So I do you think Liberia? The question to you is: do you think Liberia, the government of Liberia, had any leverage in terms of forcing the hand of BHP, a mega multinational conglomerate, to sell that
Of
license?
course. Look, the asset in question is Liberia's. It's a national asset. Your government always have the last recourse here. We always have recourse as a country. That's our asset. We are selling the rights to that asset to a company. And there is supposed to be some sort of stipulation in whatever the agreement is for Liberia to have some sort of last recourse when it comes to that. It's just unfair for you to come to a country like ours, knowing we are desperate. Our country needs the foreign direct investment, right? And you come with the intention of exploring or mining or creating jobs, because that's the essence behind these things, right? Creating jobs, creating opportunities for the population, and then you sit on this license. But this is not new. This is what have been happening. El Nito, all these deals, and that's what have been happening. People, nobody's basically. I mean, in this case, BHP is a well-known company, but El Nito, few people come to the country, acquire license, sit on it, and then flip the
Tell
license
me,
for millions of dollars. And why
tell
not,
me a
right?
lawyer or a law group in Liberia that can challenge BHP, BPH. Sorry, BHP. Tell me a law company in Liberia that can challenge B, BHP and and make a dent at that argument to say they can win that case.
Um,
And if you think
if,
if you think that, what do you think the government haven't played that hand? Because I want to look at it. Maybe we can. This is what we can do. We can look at it from. You can look at it from the government of Liberia perspective. I can look at it from the both entity
mhm,
perspective, because
mhm.
I don't think there is a law firm in Liberia or group in Liberia or lawyer in Liberia enough that really understand uh, uh, these kind of contracts, right? Let
Yeah, but
alone the complexity of these kind of contracts, and what was put initially. I can just bring the initial one I was drafted and say, hey, we're following everything that we agreed to in the contract. In that case,
so
you would do kamikaze style like they did in Mali and just cancel it,
no,
right?
but the Malians, not, the Nigerians, not was it Mali? That's Niger, right? The
Niger,
Nigerians,
yeah.
the Nigerians were smart enough to put in a clause that says if you don't mind, if you don't exercise this license that we are giving you for X amount of years and come this so and so date, we revoke the license because you haven't done any exploration. What have you? I don't know the nature of this thing, and that's why we sit here, we talk sometimes. Why we don't bring our best and our brightest to these conversations, right? Or to these agreements when we're drafting them and whatnot. Is there a law? The question is to address your question. Is there a lawyer that can go against BHP and whatnot? Look, you can look at the government like Bureau. I'm not here to criticize people credential, who the justice minister is, who the solicitor general is. These are supposed to be people with impeccable degree, right? Impeccable lawyers with impeccable degree, people who understand some sort of international law also. But to that end, it doesn't mean that the government like brother. Look, there was a Liberian who was the legal counsel at the IMF. She's just resigning, right? She's a Liberian. Then, that's to be the legal counsel at the organization at the IMF level. She graduated from Harvard Law School. We have Harvard Law educated people in all over the place. Harvard Law School. So I mean, we can bring these people to bear if we. Again, the question is, the point is, we education is not our problem. Do we have the
So
expertise? We do, but
that
have we
is,
have we
thank
have we
you.
leveraged them? I
You
don't. I
answer your
no, we
question.
have not. That's my
You
point.
an- you answer
You
that
know,
question. Here's the point
we
that I
don't
want to
leverage them.
here's the point that I want to make. Education may not be the problem. Experience and bringing in people with the experience is our problem. You can't just go get a. She didn't just go get a degree from Harvard and then
Nope.
go go somewhere where she you just sitting down without doing. She honed and steal herself through those things, so you know she has experience. So she has an international experience. People like that, if you were to take someone like that and bring him in the country and say, yeah, represent the government of Liberia in all these concession agreements, she will run clockwork around those people. Why? Because she already built that experience on the international space. You know that. But you can't just take somebody who has a degree and go back home and go do whatever they're doing there, whatever law firm they're working in. And you all of a sudden you now think that they're going to come here and just put their chest against these multi. They will chew them up on the table. Their bones will be
No,
left on that table.
look, I don't, I
That's the
don't,
problem that I'm saying.
I don't
Right.
disagree. I don't disagree with you, right? But we know we got these people out here. We know we have the expertise and the knowledge and the capabilities out here with people who know these things. The problem is our government serious about getting the best out of these deals for our people? That's the question. Are they sincerely negotiating on behalf of the Liberian people? Are we
Right.
serious about these things? That's my point. Because if we were serious about these things, then we'll be bringing all the necessary expertise to bear in these negotiations, so that we can get the best deal for our people. So that today or tomorrow, when this deal is in place, we look back at it like, bro, we're not say, oh, we got a shot in on the stake. So, but
Right.
basically, this is what we do. We go in, everybody yell, oh yeah, that 30 billion concession they bring it in and whatnot. And at the end of the day, few people line their pockets. I mean, look at the kind of chumps. I mean, not to disparage people, but look at the kind of, you bring BHP, HPX then against the people then we call legislator. And then have you seen your legislator in session before? Have you seen that? These are the guys you're coming to bring against the multinational. They're the one negotiating. These are your negotiators that you have against these multinational corporations that are well funded and what have you.
Well,
Can,
litigious. Right.
you know? So I don't know. But my point is, it's sad, right? Because somebody's coming to make money at the expense of Liberia again.
Mhm.
BHP is going to make a whole lot of money at the expense of Liberia because they're going to
They've
flip their
already made.
license. So,
So
okay.
let's put this deal in context. And I think I did this already, but for your sake, since you just joined. So I think I stated earlier, maybe you didn't hear me. No, at the time you weren't here. This is 650 million megaton of iron ore,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
As of today, that is trading, a megaton is trading at $96. That is equivalent to $62.4 billion for the entirety of that 650 million megaton. Now, let me put
mm-hmm,
this, go a little bit further. In June, the price of iron ore was 119 on that market.
mm-hmm,
That will
mm-hmm,
be equivalent to 77 billion. Our
mm-hmm,
GDP, let me put this in context, deeper context for everybody. Our
mm-hmm.
GDP is, let's say, I would say, let's forget the 4.5. I'll round it up to 5 billion. Do you
Mm-hmm.
see the that is over 70 times
But
our that's over that's look compared to the price of the entire iron ore we have in our corridor to our GDP and what HPX is going to be making from there compared to our
mm-hmm,
GDP. That can
mm-hmm.
do wonders for that country. It can take us from not just, we're not even in the emerging market conversation. We're at the frontier market level to put us even at the higher level of emerging market if we even get
So
half of that money in the duration of the exploration time. So
so
my
again,
question to you,
mm-hmm,
I want to put you in a seat of the government of Liberia. The
mm-hmm.
US government did that exploration and they assess, they know, I'm sure the government of Liberia is aware of the quantity of iron ore that was in that region.
Mm-hmm,
You are aware as a government of Liberia. I'm the
mm-hmm,
HPX. I'm aware of it.
mm-hmm.
Given that quantity, how do you negotiate it? So
So
I'm HPX. I come, hey, Percy, I have
so if
you and
I'm
I aware
if
we're
if
trying to
I'm the
buy the
government of
license for
Liberia,
from right,
if I'm the government of Liberia,
right.
and I'm not going to be. I mean, the old model of concession that we used to use, that we have used to brought Firestone and all these people to the company. You see what it is. What all it does is it enrich outsiders, it enrich foreigners. So if I was the government like bro, what I want to do is I want Liberia. I actually want Liberia involved in this economy. Again, I keep saying it, right? What you do is you securitize the asset, right? You take this asset, you say HPS, you want it, yeah, okay. You bring in this, we bring in that, but I want because I want we want a public private partnership because in here it's important for Liberia. What we want to do here is this, right? We want to securitize the deal, right? We want to securitize this asset. So you take the assets, you put it in an SPV, right? You create an SPV that's going to hold the asset. Then HPS is going to have a share in this SPV, but the government of Liberia also going to have share in the SPV. The government of Liberia can use her share of that in the SPV to invite. Again, you want to create wealth. You want to make like you want to create an investing class in Liberia because the foreigners, as it is going to take their money and repatriate it to their country. HPS money going to end up or the money from the profit from HPS is going to end up in Chase Manhattan Bank. It's going to end up in City. It's going to end up in these various Western banks in yeah, and what we're going to be left with nothing. But if you had an investing class, right? If you had an investing class, so the Liberian government take her share, not share in the SPV that holds the asset, take her share of that and invite Liberians to buy these shares, put it on the market, let private Liberians or private people buy these shares, buy share into this SPV, right? That is now going to be operating the mines itself, right? So you're gonna do you if you did that because that's what I'm going to negotiate if I'm the Liberian government now. We'll get to the leverage part because what do you have before you requesting all this in, and that would be the next question. Your infrastructure is bad. You don't have no railroads. All these things
Exactly.
they take you got to take them into consideration when if and when you are doing a negotiation with such a company, right? So you got to be careful what you're asking for, but by and large the structure of the deal from a Liberian standpoint has to be we securitize the assets. We're not giving you got license, but we're securitizing these assets and we put it in a special purpose vehicle. We'll do a show next time, but what a special purpose vehicle, but bear with us here. So you put it in an SPV, right? And then it's gonna have shares, right? This they're gonna own 50%, right? We're gonna own maybe 50%, or they can do 45, whatever the breakdown is. But by and large, you're gonna have Liberians in there, right? Me and you gonna get our little money and say, yeah, I want to buy a share in in the new SPV or that's going to be doing the iron ore mining. We're going to buy a share there. Now you have Liberian invested in this thing now, right? So when HPS make money, they do dividends and whatever the SPVA do dividends or whatever. Liberia's going to be having a share in that. We're not going to be repatriating all the money here now to Europe and America and whatnot. There will be actual Liberians in the country and in the diaspora that's going to be having interest in there. That's going to be shareholders in there. That's going to be trading their stock, doing whatever. That's the nature of it all, right? From a government-wide perspective, that's what you want the structure of this deal to be. Right. That's why I would. That's why if I was the government,
That's how
like bro,
you
that
pitch.
would be my angle. That's where I'm going to take it from.
That's the angle. Okay. So here are two counter I want to offer, and then maybe you can maybe you can see how you can work around that. So I think that is any individual or any president or representative in a country who loves their country, that would be the ideal route to go. That is, hey, like you said, you want to create an investing class of Liberians to be equity and shareholder in the economic growth of their country, which is that's what you want would do. However, if you pitch the the special purpose vehicle, right, SPV, does that mean you will have to contribute to the exploration costs? Does that mean now from the lower level technical aspect, we can get low level technical staff in Liberia every time, but the engineers, the high level engineers, you're not going to be Liberia will not be able to contribute towards that. Maybe we will train, we can do that. Maybe we can have that within the next 5 or 6 years to have that level of technical expertise. The second thing here is I would then offer you, because I have all the capital, I have all the resources. I'm bringing in all the machinery. Maybe this is why the president was trying to bring in all the yellow machine, by the way. I'm bringing in all the machinery. I'm bringing in all the technical staff. Instead, I can offer you, hey, I'm going to give you, what if we do 2 billion over 10 years, and I take on all the costs, all the exploration, any clause you want to put in. If you want, I can even build that whole corridor of road that leaves, allow us to transport the goods from the iron ore from Yekepa straight to the free port or even to the port of Buchanan, um, just to get you out of there, right? The reason why I even said that is because, in as much that I think that is a great proposal, which I think should have been the proposal, I don't see the that many. There are a few. There are a few Liberians that will invest, but I don't see that many Liberians that will be able to throw their money into that to be able to offer that quantum of capital, you know, um, that is needed to do the exploration. That is the
So
problem.
no,
People
but
like
here's the
yourself will
thing.
throw money in. I will be able to throw money in. There are few, like I said, the diaspora is the middle class of Liberia. There is liquid assets here, right? They would
Uh-huh.
jump in it. But I don't think we will be able to put in that much or that much capital that will convince HPX or BHP to say, okay, these people have money. At least they're willing to have some skin in the game. We can go toe to toe with them and split the initial uh, cost that is needed to set up machinery, bring in the right talent, and then start exploration. And then we share in the 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 lion's share of the iron ore. That way,
Mhm.
if you're bringing half, I'm bringing half. You have the leverage to say, take half, let us take half.
So
Go ahead.
so because what you just explained, right, and the structure that I just said, that's where people negotiate. That's what people negotiate up and down.
Correct.
Giving Liberia current infrastructure deficit, right, and everything else that's going on with it with Liberia, right. You cannot come to the deal with a 50-50. You can't do 50-50 with HPX because they're gonna be doing they're gonna be doing like they're doing the line the heavy cost, the exploration
The
cost,
heavy
the
lifting, right?
machinery, the technical, they're going to be doing the heavy lifting, right? So
Right.
I know that will be they can push back and say no, we can't do 50-50. You can do 50-50 on this deal, right? If you want, yeah, we can do the SPV, but we'll do for 55-45, whatever the breakdown is. Giving and the Liberian government will say, okay, yeah, okay, I can understand. I see where you're coming from because you're gonna be building this corridor road, you're gonna be giving us infrastructure over time, blah blah blah, no problem. So I will forego, in terms of my what I have in the deal in terms of I won't do 50-50, but I'll do 45-55, maybe something along those lines, or 40, depending on the breakdown, 40, something like that. You know what I mean? But so I would do that breakdown. That's when negotiations happen, and that's why you need to bring skillful people to the table who knows these issues and why not. But it's just the deal itself, right? So if you take into consideration the royalties and all these different things that come around with concession deals, right? Right. So there's a whole lot like Bristol to benefit from there, but we have to put a structure in place. Yeah, it shouldn't be, it probably won't be a 50-50 if you're negotiating with an American company, right? Because given like broad again the infrastructure deficit, right? The lack of skilled people to do the initial lifting, like exploration and whatnot. So you can understand, right? Like we have to be realistic with herself, right? The
Right.
government like we have to be realistic. We can't do a 50-50 deal here, but we can do a 45-55, right? Or 45-55, or maybe closer to that, right? But it shouldn't be in the low 40s. It should be mid 40s to high 40s. That's what the deal should center around, basically.
Right. Yeah. And I do agree with you, but for you and I, we're just having a conversation here. At those table, these people are animal. They are animal.
I don't
Not only
disagree.
the animal, you work with them, you should know, right? Not
I don't
only
disagree.
not only the animal, they're coming to you with bribes, offering bribes, not just to you. It may not be to you, it may be somebody else with you that is on the negotiating table. While you're over there pitching, something that will be reasonable in terms of that would benefit the country. Your next buddy next door to you is taking bribes and now convincing you that why you should not go the route that you want to go. So, for you and I, we're having a conversation here, and we can, say, hey, this is what we want as people that want to meet at a middle ground. But these people are not coming to you to meet at the middle ground. They're coming there to shorthand you, to shortchange you in every measure they can take to do that. But my next question to you before we move on: what type of structure, covenants in place will you put in that transaction to make sure that um, this deal remains something that 5, 10 years down the line, like Brian can look back and say, all right, that was, even though we didn't get, what we wanted, but at least that was a great deal.
So that's the structure with the SPV thing, right? But
Okay.
bar that also, because this is natural resources, you're not replenishing it, you're taking it out, it's not going back,
That was
right?
my next question.
And
Yeah. Go ahead.
you're taking it out, it's not going back, right?
Right.
So
Right.
what the Liberian government could do to make sure that future generations of our country, fellow countrymen, benefit from these things also
Hmm.
is to set up a fund like what we like the sovereign wealth fund that that other countries have based on their resources, or
Right.
based on their resource money, right? We can set up we should set up a sovereign wealth fund that is managed by, I don't know, we can find an investment manager, set it up in a way that, but make sure that the resources from the thing is not just going, it's not just going to be pillaged by few and whatnot, but it's going to be there also for the next generation of Liberians or the community, so that we can benefit from them. So these things can help the very Liberian government in a very significant way. Say you set up a sovereign wealth fund that is going to do well. You draw 3% every year to help with budget related issues, right? You're going to be having
Hmm.
credible budgets over time because your assets is generating money, right? The assets is going to be generating money over time via the sovereign wealth fund, not the deal now, via the sovereign wealth fund, right? You're going to be generating good money from there. You can 3% of, let's say, whatever the wealth at the time, right? 3% to help
Hmm.
close in the budget loopholes and whatnot. It's going to go a
Hmm.
long way. It's going to go a long way in helping the Liberian government provide public services and enhancing the country itself. So
Hmm.
those are the kind of sophisticated deals you be putting in place, as opposed to just leaving it to these guys that they only care about themselves, right? You should be putting serious people in place to negotiate these things. And so at the end of the day, 10 years down the line, when you look behind, you say, okay, yeah, we made a deal with HPX, but this was the best deal we got from them. And via this deal, look at how much the sovereign wealth fund is worth right now. Look at how much we can get from that in order to close our budgetary loopholes,
Hmm.
our yearly deficits and stuff like that. So you can look back at it. These things it can turn up to be a good deal at the end of the day. But again, you have to have the right people at the table to do these negotiations.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question here is, no, not that one. I think we've already talked about that. How would you deal with the environmental degradation that will, will happen in that area? Like, what do you, at this negotiating table where you're negotiating, I want you to think about factoring in the impact that, whether this is going to be for 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, 50 years, there's going to be environmental impact, especially in a
Of course.
country such as ours, where we have no funds aside to deal with environmental issues. How would you mitigate that risk for the next, maybe for the duration of the contract?
You make the company to put money aside for that, right? I'm not talking about the sovereign wealth fund that I would just talk about. That would be
Hmm.
for the government managing the revenues that come in from that, from iron ore resources. But by that, the company themselves have, I mean, because of the environmental degradation, the impact it's going to have around on the people and the communities that surrounding those areas, right? There should
Hmm.
be a fund. I mean, there should be the company should have a fund put in place, right, that will be able to help the people in those communities make maybe good health facilities, good education. And, they should be able to put a fund aside that will fund these things so that the community, the impact of the community, though it will be there, but it will be mitigated in a way that is not seismic to the extent that it decimate the whole community, that we have sick people, and, we have bad poisoning of the waters and the rivers around those areas and stuff like that. So we should do those things. But again, it should be all part of the negotiation on Gabby. This is
Mhm.
this should be this should be, instead of signing these things secretly, they should be brought to the public so that they can solicit ideas like this, right? So that we can find the right people and can solicit the right ideas so that these things can benefit the country in the long run. Right now, me and you're not ready to work in government, but we're ready to help our country. If somebody came to you from like, bro, with to help your country in a decent like this, and you have the capacities and wherewithal to do that, you will do that. You will not be doing it because you want money for it, but you will do that because as your country, you want to give back in a way also, right? But the government like bro have to make the overtures, right?
Right.
We can only sit here and say, hey, we are here, but you have to make you have to make the move if you
Right.
want what's best from for the country.
Yeah, I do agree with you in terms of thinking long term to have the company contribute some kind of percentage to the
Mm-hmm.
environmental impact that will, we can end up, if they, or not if, when they end up packing up and leaving, we can take that funds and
And
do,
replenish, yeah,
and
fix.
replenish that area or do
I
something with
agree.
that area instead of looking at it that way. But here's a statement that I'm going to make. There is not Liberia does not, well, maybe as far as I'm aware of in Liberia, does not have anyone who understands investment. And that is a wild statement. And you might say, why would you make a statement like that? NASCORP, which is our version of the Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
I will urge you after the show, or the audience that are watching after the show, go to NASCORP, go on their website. And there's a buddy of mine that shared this with me as well. Um, go on their website and see what they're doing to the retirement funds of the retiree, the Social Security. Do you know what they're doing with that? They're taking, and this is how archaic those ideas are. They're taking the retirement funds, which, if you think about it, they have the idea, but in terms of the right channels to put it in, I don't think they have it, or maybe they just limited, or maybe they just don't know. They're taking the people retirement funds and using it to build buildings in Liberia. They're building guest houses, and the returns from those guest houses is what they are putting back into the retirement fund. So that's their way of saying, hey, Percy, you're working here, you're paying into Social Security. We're going to take that Social Security fund and then buy some building or build some building, build guest houses in these Kagata, Mangibi, and all of these places, right? And then the revenues we get from those guest houses, we're going to deploy it back into the Social Security. Which I think, if you live in an emerging market, that is the right idea to do. That is the right thing to do because you can assess real estate, the value can go up. If it deteriorates, you can actually exit that. You can even sell that building and make good returns on that because there is assessment, there's appraisal, standardized appraisal, the appreciation of real estate in the market. But we do not have a standardized valuation process in Liberia. Those things are not standardized. And I don't agree with just that, especially for those who spend their years working in that country to take their money and just go put it right back in Liberia. There's not much return you can make in Liberia. So for me, in as much I think this is would be a great idea to take this 3% or whatever percentage it is to put it aside to invest it into whatever it is that when these people leave, eventually we can take that money and then deploy it right back into the environment to improve the environment. There is not I don't want to call it, I think they're too risk averse, or they just have limitation in terms of what an actual investment is supposed to be, or how to even extend or go beyond the border to invest in other markets as well. So that's the limitation that is in that area. So in as much that I think this would be a good idea, you have to think outside of the box, because if you think you're taking just
So
3% to put it into the Liberian
the
market,
fund does not
it won't
necessarily
go
have to
anywhere.
be in Liberia. You have to go to where you get higher return, right?
Right.
So
Right.
if the investment climate in Liberia is not going to give you high return, you look elsewhere. So funds like the Abu Dhabi Investment Corporation and whatnot. These guys invest most of the money in developed markets, and part of it in, I mean, a good majority of it is in the developed markets, right?
Mhm.
And maybe another tier of it, maybe another sliver of it is invested in the region. So it doesn't mean that we should limit ourselves, and it doesn't even mean that the fund itself should be managed by a Liberian company. Maybe you can contract a foreign company to manage the fund. You just meant for us, we want high return so that when time comes, right, we'll be getting money back to do what the things that we need to do. That you, as the investment manager, you can promise to give us this return on our investment. We agree, we'll put our money there, and when time comes, you should be able to get that return on investment based on the contractual agreement. It doesn't have to be in Liberia. Now, as far as social security is concerned, I don't know how they're doing that. I don't know how people are identified for social security purposes. I mean, I haven't studied the whole Liberia social security system yet. Is it for both? Is it just for public employees, or is for the entire country? I don't know who is it for,
I think
right? So
it's for public employees. I don't think
it's for public employee, then that would be a pension fund.
there's a pension. Yeah, that's the government version of the pension. Um, that they're taking the money, and you know, and if you go on their website, if after the show, for those of you watching after the show, go on their website, you will see they actually have the guest houses that they invested in on their
So the
website.
guest houses is owned by the Social Security Corporation. It's owned by
Yeah,
NASCOP, or is
yeah.
a company that they invested in, that like a real estate
No, it's owned by
trust.
NASCO.
So
They
NASCOP is
have
building houses.
they have some somewhat decent building in the area, such as I think Jamale Hospital, whatever you call it.
Okay.
Some building they have their offices in, and then they rent the other part, which is. But I just don't think that is especially for a country with 4.5 million people. Well, not everybody that has, what is it, 67,000 people working for it. That's level. That is it's you're playing with people's retirement. Some people will get to the retirement age and they won't have any funds left for them to retire. You know, um,
So, but anyway, let's talk about social. Let me get another topic for another day where
yeah,
we
it's
get
a
it
it's a
ready
whole
for that,
different conversation by itself.
because you
Uh,
get into the thing, and yeah, let's talk about this HPX thing and what the country stands to benefit from it, and how because social security is a whole different animal that needs to be really studied.
so my question to you is, and again, this is a speculation. We are not aware. How much do you think this was approved for?
I don't know. I have no idea. You can't
Uh,
speculate where there's no the way we treat information dissemination in Liberia is crazy, especially in this 21st century. These things are not supposed to be secret. These things are not supposed to be in hiding. You know,
right,
it should every
right.
step of the transaction should be out there in the public, so that people can know what they're getting in return, so that they can know what kind of deal the government is negotiation, so they can, I mean, negotiating, I mean, so they can know. So these things supposed to be transparent. You're supposed to be
Mhm.
transparent about these negotiations and who the negotiators are, right? You're supposed to have all these things out there. Liberian people, they're not supposed to be begging for this information. Me and you're not supposed to be begging for it. These things are supposed to be out there in the public ether, right? Where we can
Mhm.
go and literally asset it and do the analysis, not based on speculation, but based on facts, right? But everything like, because there's some sort of ulterior motive, at least almost all the time, right? So it's in the best interest of somebody to hide this information or keep this information close to their chest, and leave people speculating. And then after all said and done, when the deal is in place and everything, the people start bringing a machine and mining and whatnot, then we start complaining. Then the men in that negotiated the deal, maybe because these guys can do their calculation. If I'm a senator for 9 years, in a 9 year time, whatever bad deal I negotiate, whatever amount of money I get, me and my family can live on it. Then you turn around and they start to build businesses and build big houses at the expense of the very Liberian people. There was a discussion yesterday on another network about um, a political party being evicted from their headquarters that was just in power, right?
It was
All these
PDT.
things, when you
Yeah.
when you think about it, right? Because we don't take the economy seriously, right? That's what everything else is struggling in the country. If you empower your own Liberian people, if a Liberian man makes $1 million and has a very sustainable business, that millionaire, right? He's not going anywhere. Kind of think about it. He's not going. He's not taking your money to go build it somewhere else. He's gonna use it in Liberia, right? He's gonna invest in the things that are Liberian, right? He's gonna take in and probably empower another Liberian business and buy from another Liberian business, and then this whole circle is going to continue. But our government don't think about the economy. This is that they believe in this crony capitalism thing wherein you go in government. Government is this place that you go there to get rich. You think about it, it's supposed to hurt your head that the richest people in Liberia are government officials and the government don't make anything.
Yeah.
Government does not make nothing. It's the private sector that makes everything, and that's where the rich people are supposed to be. But unfortunately, it's the reverse in Liberia. Politics makes more money than the private sector. That's what it is.
And that's a tragedy. Yeah, and great take. I think we do have a few questions here. I mean, not questions. We do have comments. Maybe we can just jump to that because we're on the hour mark already. Let's jump into that, and then we'll proceed with the rest of the show. Okay. How do you say this thing? It's a low jack. He said it is. The guy said it is. Maybe it's a girl. He said it is time to take back our resources. That is from YouTube. Yeah, I think that's a little too. This is Elijah or Aja. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. So diaspora, and this is a great question. So the diaspora Liberians don't have the technical skills and are the first preference for some of these jobs to set a percentage. What? They are the first preference for some of these jobs. A set percentage must be Liberian. Maybe I didn't read that correctly, but I think I got the point. So she said she's asking, or he or she is asking whether diaspora Liberians don't have the technical skills because supposedly these peoples those in the diaspora are supposed to have some kind of technical skills, at least by definition of being accessible to quality education. And he or she is also saying that there should be a percentage set aside for.
No, I don't disagree. That's all part of the negotiation. That's why you need to have the right people at the table, and these are things that we should be demanding for our resources. Right, our people needs to be vested in their economy. People shouldn't. A lot of people have gotten rich at the expense of Liberia. It's about time that we stop that. Right, we stop making outsiders rich and our people continue to wallow in poverty. It just doesn't make sense. And then we all claim to be educated and smart and working in these fancy institutions, but then our country is languishing in poverty. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry from a Western country can just run cycles around us, right? Because we don't bring our best and our brightest to the table. So I don't disagree.
And he or she has the same question again. So these guys are giving actual $1 billion. So maybe that's the valuation of that deal.
That's the valuation of the deal.
I mean let's
consider
that as a speculation. Let's consider that as a speculation.
That should be more than that. If iron ore is trading at what was the last time? What was the number you called?
So it was 96. It
96. And how many tons are we talking about?
And then 119 in June, right?
So let's say it was. So let's say a ton is 119. That should be more than that. That's a couple of $1 billion. That's not $1 billion. How you going to give up $1 billion for something that is worth a couple of $1 billion? Again,
so
because it's Liberia,
the entirety of the valuation for the 650 million at $96 per megaton is $62.4 billion. The entire valuation. That is if it is being traded today at $96.
Right? So that's 62 billion. That's still a lot of money. That is still a lot of money.
Quantum. That's a quantum of money. Um, she said, "Oops, uh, aren't giving." Okay, so I think she meant to qualify whatever question or
Okay,
statement. Yeah, it said, "Aren't giving these actual cash or resources."
it's an
It is.
embellishment of the cost
It's an
basis. Okay,
embellishment cost basis. Uh, it is an embellishment cost basis. Okay.
okay. I think
Thank
you're
you for
correcting
clarifying.
a
Sorry,
previous
and I think
statement.
I read your statement wrong because you know, apparently I don't know how to read. Um, if Liberian diaspora can remit 400 to $600, this only tracks the electronic math, right? Ma, I think this
The
is
electronic
my
ma.
colloquial electronic
Yeah,
electronic ma. You know what ma is, right? Money,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't think I understand. I don't think I understand that.
So if the Liberian diaspora can remit 400 to 600 million, that $1 million he talking about, that's not
I hope
600.
that's
I
what I
think
think. I hope it is,
that's
right? Yeah.
millions. He talking in millions of dollars there. So four
This
hundred to
only
600 million dollars.
tracks.
This only tracks the electronic payment, meaning that only the one we know that we can that can be tracked electronically through Western unions and all
It
these
is actually
electronic
at
platforms.
seven
So
hundred to 800 million. For correction.
aha. So it just, and he's saying that's just the one that is tracked
Yeah.
by electronic sources, right? So
Yeah.
there might be some that might not even be
The one that we actually bring
remitted
in will
via this,
go.
yeah, into the
Yeah.
country in
Yeah.
your pocket like that, so
Uh,
yeah.
that's a good point. Um, man, this is busy. Is that are we saying the diaspora can raise? Okay, that this is to your point. I should make. She said, are we saying that the diaspora can raise this money uh, if you can provide someone trusted to run this? I think that should have meant that's supposed to be a question mark there. Is that we
No,
saying
we
that the
can do
diaspora
that.
can make
Look, listen, we can do all those things. And again, it's left with the government, right? They have to be transparent. They have to bring no investor have to have confidence in the country. Whether you're a Liberian or foreigner, you have to have confidence in the country. You have to have a good judicial system that actually can adjudicate impartially as far as contract is concerned. All those things go hand in hand, right? Because
she
most
has
of these things revolve around contracts.
she has the right name for her, and I think I'll give you kudos. I'll give her kudos for her right
Mm-hmm. Virtual capitalist.
here. Vulture capitalist. That is the name she gave. Oh boy. All right, last comment here before we jump on to the next session. Okay, so this is Ducalt. I think this guy, I don't know is this guy or whatever it is.
Because
Always falling.
scientific.
Yeah, Ducalt Scientific. I think he probably from Ducalt area, right? He said, "Hi
No,
guys, good
to
to
call
see
that
you
the name
guys
of
again."
Monrovia.
Yeah, he said the concession model of Todman era that we currently use is antiquated and largely benefits the investors and few government officials.
I
We
don't
need to
disagree.
deviate from that model and adapt a private partnership 50-50 or 60-40 or 65. Man, this person is, that's the kind of company I like to read. Or 65-30, where Liberians become owners. We need a resource retention policy that will enable us to create primary, secondary, tertiary, and
Tertiaries. Yeah.
even uh,
Quant- Quantary
quaternary
processing.
processing
Yeah.
facility in Liberia. This will create more jobs, a robust something, something, something. What is it? Uh, a robust, hold on, hopefully I can see the rest of this comment. A robust, yeah, I think that's what she stops. I don't think there's anything. I think probably meant, maybe she meant a monetary
Yeah, but
system
you
or
can this
economy.
would yeah, it will create a more robust economy, whatever he was
Yeah,
trying, whatever the trend of talk about. You can see
yeah.
that but that's exactly what we're saying. A public private partnership where in Liberia become vested, right? Liberians become vested in their own economy and whatnot. So yeah, it's true. Those things gonna have um ripple effects, right? Liberians start owning stuff, they will take the investment and start creating other industry around that very same resources. There's several things, several industry can pop up just around one single resources if we manage it well and negotiate well with the best deal for our country. So but it's again, it's
It's
all
also,
about who we have for government.
yeah. Also talked about the resource retention policy. I hope you can clarify on that. But are you referring to where we retain it and we process it in the country as
Yeah,
opposed to just, yeah, I
part
think
of, instead of shipping everything
right,
to overseas in its natural form, like
right,
we do some sort of processing, right? So for
value added,
example, we
right,
got we got iron ore, but we don't make steroids, right? So we
right.
should be doing some sort of steroid processing with our iron ores before sending it out for onward um processing again. So that's what he was saying.
Okay, I think I agree with you. I agree with you. All right, so I think those were the only comments we have. So we have a little bit of time here, so I'm going to segue into another topic, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. So, if you've heard recently, we've appointed a new Minister of Finance, Gafwan,
Hmm.
to lead the Ministry of Finance.
Hmm.
What is your thought on that appointment, and what are your hopes uh, for
um
for that ministry, given who's
so
was just appointed?
I think we owe it to to our listeners to be straightforward. And Gafwan is a senior comrade, right? When I mean senior comrade, that's how we address each other back in the day when I was a student on the JJ Rao Scholarship Foundation attending the CWA. Gafwan and were considered our senior comrade. So I know the senior comrade, and
Mhm,
I think his appointment is a good one. I think he's a capable manager. I think he knows, because this is his second stint. I think we need to give him time, like everything else. I think everybody, because the time he was finance minister is different from now, right? But I think he's capable. I think he's one of the most capable people we have in the country as far as um people to manage the economy. So hopefully he will do a good job. I listened to his confirmation speech,
mhm,
and I think he said a lot of good things in there, and how he's going to conduct the affairs, the fiscal affairs of the country, vis-a-vis
mhm.
the Ministry of Finance. So um, I'm going to be on the fence, looking in and see how he changed things around at the Ministry of Finance and what he does differently. And we'll be here to give our input if he messes up. We'll be critical if he's doing stuff right. We'll come here too and say that things are doing right, and if we can engage behind the scenes and see how best we can give our 1 or 2 cents, because again, he's a senior comrade. I do have intermediaries that we can reach out to. So if anything, we'll be reaching out if need be. But I'm giving the benefit of the doubt for now.
Okay, so uh, so you're laughing. I have a here's a and
But
this is
what are your thoughts about him? You give your thought
let
about him.
me
I've
let
just
me
given
let me. That's
mine.
what I'm saying now. Let me give my thoughts, and I will have a. Have
No,
you heard about the
but I
Peter?
think
The
I
Peter?
think I think you should put Elijah comment, Elijah comment up, so that people can know what we're laughing at here. So you can just be like, well, what you're laughing at. So
All
just put
right,
the comment up,
let me
because
put it. Let me put
it's
let me put it up.
funny.
This guy is he's he's a riot.
He is a woman riot.
He is a riot. He said, "Remember, there's no social media during his first term. Additionally, he had Ellen May call to place him in rooms he
Yo,
couldn't.
that guy is crazy.
Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. This is
Let me take
somebody
my glasses.
spilling,
Oh god. Mm.
somebody spilling secrets out here.
No,
All
but
right.
go
So
ahead. What are your
have
thoughts?
you have you heard about the theory of Peter's theory? It's called
No.
Peter's theory. This is a management concept, meaning people only rise to their level of failure. Meaning, and what the concept meaning is, so let's say you are very good at what you do, right? Meaning you're excellent. in terms of what you do, right? But because of that, let's say you're let me make this clear. Let's say you're a fund manager, very
Mm,
effective at predicting market, running models, and picking some of the best investment. People know you for that,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And
mhm, mhm,
because you are good at fund managing, I say this man will be a good uh, firm manager, right? Meaning
mm,
that, hey, this guy is a good fund picker, he's a good investor. Let me put him in charge of this investment firm, right?
mhm.
The theory is that the mistake that I will be making by doing that is that I'm taking you out of something that you're very good at and putting you in something that now has a lot of complexity because you will not just be focusing on fund managing anymore, but you'll also now be focusing on managing people. So meaning
Mm,
people rise to their level of failure, right?
mm.
But anyway, that's is a big concept out there that they use to train managers. Meaning, some people are just good being individual contributor. If this person is very effective at their job, that doesn't necessarily mean you should
They will be a good manager.
use exactly. They will be a good
I understand.
manager. That means that you are taking somebody who is very like
Good at
good
what
in
they're
their
doing,
role.
and putting them to
Exactly,
somewhere where they're not
put
going to
in
excel.
somewhere where they will fail
Okay.
and suffer. Exactly. That's the concept of the theory. It's a whole management concept out there where you can look
Yeah.
into it later. So here's my take. And I thank you for Elijah for pointing that out. But I won't use that. I think I don't, for those of you who know him, I don't doubt his credibility. I think those, I think this is his second uh, stint at the Minister of Finance. The complexity of what he has right now is enormous. There's a lot of complex, and I read an article yesterday. It was post, I think it was written by Ava and another gentleman, and they had these expectations in terms of what he needs to do. He talks about climate change and how he's going to turn around the budget, how he's going to be transparent with the budget. I think he can do it, but here's what I expect for a minister of finance, especially at this level where we are right now, is even more important because of the kind of economic uh, environment that we're in. It's not just someone who would just be another paper and pen pusher, as we will call it, meaning, hey, I put Percy in charge, the Minister of Finance. He's going to oversee the budget coming, making sure it gets to the president on time to be signed, making sure it's transparent. I want Percy to be innovative in terms of looking at that budget, aligning it with the interests of the country. Where do we want to take this interest? Where can Harris, Percy, makes cuts or recommend cuts that we make and take that excess money to put it into this area that will now further the interests of this country. That's the kind of innovation that I need from you. This is the kind of ideas that I need from you, not just someone, hey, I'm the Minister of Finance. Here's the budget. I deliver it on time. You want access to media? I give you access. You want transparency? I give you transparency. Anybody can do that. What we need is someone who's going to take the budget and make it work for the interests of the country, meaning whatever agendas that the president is embarking on, we can all make adjustments, make cuts. Even you can even recommend, say, hey, I want to cut all the fuel subsidies. Then we can take all those subsidies money and put it towards healthcare, or take all those uh, cuts and put it towards education because education, developing our human capital is our bigger asset, and we need to invest in that. So that's the kind of expectation I think I will have for Minister of Finance. But again, I agree with you. I think that is we're here to see. We'll wait and see how effective he is in terms of being in
I
that
think
role.
he talked about those things during his confirmation about aligning the president arrest agenda with the budget and stuff like that. I think he during his presentation he went in depth into those things about the procurement and about infrastructure development, those things that are paramount in the arrest agenda. Those were the things that he talked about. He made a good presentation. I'm not saying it because again, he's a senior comrade, but I'm not saying it because he's a senior comrade. I'm saying it because those were
Mhm.
the things that he said, right? And another thing we got fun also is besides being, it was good that he left the Liberian the Liberian arena and went into a more continental announce. I'm not say international because he did not work for he worked for a continental body in the African Development Bank, right? But even at the level of the African Development Bank, even at the level of the African Development Bank, um, he he was able to um he was able to see some stuff that typically exposed him to, like for example, the economy of Uganda, what they were doing in Uganda, how they were building roads in Uganda and stuff like that, right?
Hmm.
So how the African development finance those roads, and there are different things. It's different when you are at the international level than when you are at the national level. So he has some sort of exposure in the international arena or national arena, so to speak. Plus, he was foreign minister for a period of time also. So, by and large, I mean, I would give him the bandwidth to see what he does over time. But I think, in terms of, I think Gafwan is a capable guy. I think he knows he knows the terrain has changed since he was last finance minister. He knows the pressures that come with being the finance minister and how
Hmm.
often people get blamed. The finance minister get blamed for almost everything or every failure the government might have. So I think he's aware, but to get to that point of being the finance minister, I think we put too much on the finance ministry, and that's why things don't work the way they too often the way they're supposed to in our country, right? So, for example, the finance ministry is the country treasury, right? It's the government fiscal agent. They are they're supposed to be involved with making sure the financial system stable, regulating stuff, collecting taxes, all those stuff and whatnot. I think there was a period of time we had the Bureau of the Budget, which Gafwan was once the head of before the budget. The Bureau of the budget, we used to call the Budget Bureau. The Budget Bureau, which they I don't know whose smart idea it was to get rid of the Budget Bureau, right? The Budget Bureau is what we call here where the president is supposed to
CBO.
be part. Yeah, not the CBO, where the government, what you call the entity in the president's office that write the government, they write the president's budget before it goes to Congress.
Oh, the chief of staff.
No, there's a whole office. The president budget start the national budget for this country starts in the president office. The president will put his budget together and then send it over to Congress, and then Congress will review it.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm forgetting the name. There's a name for that, but
So
for us in Liberia,
we had our version of it
we
as
we
well.
had it was called Budget Bureau, and Gafwan used to be the head of it, but some reason Ellen then got rid of it. I don't know for what reason. And then all that weight and heaviness went on the Ministry of Finance to implement the budget, to do this and whatnot, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
typically what's supposed to happen is the president's supposed to say, okay, my priority is arrest, right? Agriculture, this, that. The president will put that in his budget, right? He will align what he wants his budget to be. Make a whole something, how the budget is a whole big book, right? But the president will say what the numbers should be, how he want the numbers to be based on his priorities, where he gonna cut from, you know what I mean, and where he going to raise the revenue from if you are taking on new projects and whatnot, where he will raise revenue from where. So he will do all that, and then he will send it to the Congress, right? Then the Congress will go over it. That when you see Congress will start going over it, start having hearings and whatnot, blah blah blah, negotiating back and forth, and then we'll have a budget. When the budget passes, when there is a budget, when the budget passes, then the president signs the budget, goes into law. You don't hear about any treasury secretary in the process of crafting the president's budget. The treasury secretary is more like an official advisor on the budgetary process.
okay.
He's not the principal on the budget, right? The principal on the budget is the president office of management and budget, right? OBM, right? Okay, yeah, that's the office of management and budget, right? The president has the office of management and budget. That's what we call budget bureau in Liberia. We used
Mhm,
to call budget bureau in Liberia. That's what the president. That's the people that are responsible for putting together the president budget based on his agenda, right? The treasury secretary is not the one responsible for that. Now, the treasury is responsible for payments and whatnot, making sure the system is sound, regulating banks, this, that, and the other thing. The treasury have their other function, but as far as the budget is concerned, the president of the country is supposed to be putting together his budget, which states his priorities,
mhm.
right? The president is supposed to be putting a budget which states the priorities, and then when it gets to the national legislature, they will negotiate it back and forth, up and down. They will cut deals on, Mr. President, we can do that, and then basically have a crafted budget that will pass on both houses, and then they will
And we
concur.
got rid of that in Liberia.
Yeah, they got rid of the budget bureau. There's no budget bureau now. So that's what you see every finance minister post Gafuan, Amara Kone, and anybody else that came had this added what you call it, they often put under the microscope. They added attention on them about what they do with the budget, how the budget is executed, blah blah blah, and often and everything gets writing. Whether it's the finance minister fault for right or wrong, is everything is just the finance ministry, the finance ministry, the finance ministry. Because we took some smart person in our country decided we don't need a budget bureau. I think we need a whole office of the president. That's what we need. We need a whole bill that create the structure, the presidency, not the president. The presidency is a whole institution, and that institution should have its own economic, its own national security, its own budget, all those things. That's what make up the office of the president. You know what I mean? In like, bro, we only have this one thing here: the president, the president, the president, the people that are in the Ministry of State, right? The Ministry of State, it doesn't have all these things. They're supposed to have all those things there. The president should be. If I come and
But
say my agenda is this, then the budget that comes from my office should reflect my agenda. You know what I mean?
I I absolutely agree. But I think sometimes, and this is I think what we do to ourselves in first as a nation and
Mhm.
individually as a people. We we think that we have the resources to function. We should let me get to the point. We should
Mhm.
have those what you just listed, those offices and structure that you listed, if
Mhm.
we can continually continue to raise our budget continually, right? If we have the money, you're growing your budget, you're developing, yes, then you need those that level of complexity. But my man, we're poor. We can barely raise 700 million. So creating those level of complexity and structure, I think it eats away at the little that we don't have already that we're scrambling to put together. So I do agree with you on that, but I think there's a I, I I highly agree with the Omar on certain things he does, but I think I agree with her on this thing
no,
here. Really,
no,
yeah,
but that's the problem. She created what she did was she eliminated. So, for example, LPMC, right? LPMC again. LPMC was another vital institution that they got rid of. That it wasn't so, but they turned it into something. I know some kind of agricultural, some kind of regulatory, something, something.
Kyrie,
Yeah, but you could still have Carry and you could still have LPMC, because what LPMC essentially did was it gave local farmers, people who own not big agro farmers, what it did was it gave local farmer good pricing for their produce, right? So if I have my little farm, say I produce 60 to 80 bag of cocoa a year, right? I can compete with a big farm there and whatnot. So what LPMC would do is, because LPMC is like this hub where they buy cocoa, they amass the cocoa and then they will sell it to the exporter or they will export it. But they will offer me as a farmer, because I'm bringing my stuff from farm to market, right? They will offer me a very good price for me to encourage me to go back and continue to grow more cocoa, right? So they will offer me a better price. They will say, hey, we'll offer you this price. They will set the price, right? And then I will bring my thing there and say, yeah. So that's what it was. They were giving farmers good options for producing, that will produce, smallholder farmers now that um produce stuff, that were giving them good price for the market, because they couldn't go out there and compete or do all the legwork that come with exporting stuff and
so
whatnot.
they got rid
So
of it,
we got rid of it, and guess who are the head of LPMC? Our
of
papi
course.
now. Yeah, our papi were the head, and he
so
sat down there and they got rid of it. So they just
so
got rid of those things without even taking into consideration. I understand the government too big. The government, I think the Liberian government is too big for what we have right now. But that institution or entities that needs to be either gutted or amalgamated in a way. But the
mm,
things that I'm naming, the agencies and entities that I'm naming, they are essential. They are very essential for the
essential, right?
functioning.
Yeah,
They are very essential for the functioning of the government itself.
yeah. So here's my take without trying to go back. So I agree with you. I think there's a lot of responsibility on the Minister of Finance, and I think sometimes they too, when they come in, they get these, machoism, ego, and they put that pressure on themselves without knowing the landmine that they're walking into. Tua did the same thing, and he fell to his, all he ended up doing was just throwing all kinds of economic jargons around that don't mean anything. and people applauded him. But at the end, you look at the result. So I think they put pressure on himself, and I think Gafwan is doing the same thing with his press conference. And I think where you what are you going to do with environmental the climate change? You don't have no money in your budget to fight climate change, right? You're talking about environmental climate change. You're talking about aligning and the agenda to the budget, which is great. But then again, you go on to say you want to take external resources to do that. At the same time, you want to manage debt. So it's like I think the responsibility of the Minister of Finance uh, of what it is, what it's supposed to be doing, they come in and they put too much on themselves without being able to come in to say, there's a lot of complexity here. I'm going to take maybe three or four items to run with them, do them well, and do them more effectively, right? But you come in and say you want to manage debt at the same time you're talking about taking external resources and applying to that. You cannot do both at the same time. You're
But
either
that's
going to
the point I
sacrifice one or the
that's the
other.
point I just made to you. Is
Right.
because the reason you have so the treasury have to do debt management, they have to do other things that are very important, very so they shouldn't be dealing with the budget, right? The budget should be
Exactly.
coming from the president. If the
Right.
president's so sure about his vision for this country, how he wants this
He's
country to
supposed to
run,
be
he
drafting
should
that
be
budget.
crafting his own budget. He should have an
Yeah.
office of budgeting or whatever they used to call it or want to call it. They should be having that office, right? So that it frees up the finance ministry to do the treasury work that it's supposed to be doing in terms of
Right.
managing the debt and what kind of debt and doing the things that treasury departments are supposed to do. But instead of
Yeah.
that, everybody is focused on the budget. They wanted this. Look at the kind of mess that I made, right? The president's people taking money for how does that work, right? So the
Right.
president, if the president have an agenda, he has a governing agenda, then his budget should be reflecting that, right?
Right.
If he really sure about agriculture, then he should be putting that budget should be coming from his office with agriculture being increased, the different program, all those things that are paramount to his agenda or his vision for the country.
Mhm.
That's what he should be putting in the budget. But every year we come around, we see the same structure of the budget, right? The budget
Mhm.
structure is still the
Mhm.
same. Numbers just get shifted here and there, and
Yeah.
it gets blamed on the finance minister. Yeah, the finance ministry, the finance minister, and the budget did, budget short for, budget this for. So that added scrutiny that they get now, it
It's
wouldn't have been the same.
unnecessary.
It's
Exactly.
very
Right.
unnecessary if they
Right.
had a budget bureau, which were going to be part of the Ministry of State, right? It's supposed to be part of the Ministry of State, a budget bureau, a National Economic Council, a National Security Council. All those things supposed to be part of the ministry. It's supposed to all be because the Ministry of State is the office, basically the office of the president, right? The
Yeah.
Minister of State is what we call the chief of staff here, right? So they all supposed to roll up under the Ministry of State. Those things supposed to be readily available around the president so that it shouldn't be to other places. It shouldn't be here, there, and Yanos. Other people shouldn't be taking the fall for the president's agenda. The president should be
And
in control of his own
right.
agenda.
Right. And also one of the things that he talked about, which I think sometimes people get too, I don't know, they get too excited or whatever it is. He talked about expanding the tax base, and I'm like, is that an undertaking you want to do? Do you know what it takes to expand a tax base? Like you cannot identify your people, you cannot identify addresses or assets. How are you going to expand the tax base? Unless you're going to tell me that the little bit of those people that are working government and this concession, I'm going to tax them, increase their taxes. Uh, that's the only way you can. But unless you put in a system where you can identify each Liberian by either social security or the assets in real estate in our country, addresses, and now you can say, okay, because I can identify each and every property in this country, I am going to, even if you don't increase the taxes, tax every one of them, and make sure you do it by volume. You'll be able to expand it, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that. He talks about also on the concession, leveraging the concession. No uh, minister of finance has ever touched the concession. Like I think we talked about it earlier. Those people have bold doors of lawyers. You will not touch them. So it's good to give these, you know, aspiration and speech, but you have to also look at step back and be realistic as well to say, okay, I'm coming into this world, there's a lot at stake. I look at the failure of my predecessors, and what can I do differently, because I don't want to just want to come in and say I can play all position and end up putting me in defense, and I end up people just running laps around me. Let me
Mhm.
take two, three, four, five things to do them well, and make sure I leave a legacy when people come to say, hey, this guy didn't do all everything, but at least he took these very two, three, four, five items and did them so effectively, right? But I think he, just he cast a drag net in terms of everything that he wants to do. But if you look at the reality, especially the, expanding the tax base, uh, one item I think I agree with him is working with LRA to to eh, collect revenue to make it more efficient. I do agree with him on that. If he can put in the system, electronic system to do that, it will help him. But expanding the tax base, you got to have to spend money to put in system to do that. So for me, that's my only take with him on that. And I think there's
I mean,
there's
I
there's
yeah,
there's there's a
know
lot
how you can spend tax be
to
with all
take.
identifying people. So I mean, I
Exactly.
will see. I mean, again, like I said, we giving. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt because I would like that to be accorded to me. I don't want to be criticized with even doing nothing. You know. So let's see what the guy does, and over time, you got the government still got at least almost 6 years to go. Still got that 6 years still to go. They haven't been a good year yet. So let's see what will happen. There have been a lot of false start, by the way. But let's see what's gonna happen. But I think Gafwan, I think he understands the tax ahead. I think he know the enormity, but let's see.
Well, that I think that should bring us to the end of this show. I think there's a lot we talked about, especially the HPX and the government of Liberia. If anybody have any idea on the structure in terms of what was agreed to, the amount, how it was signed, whether this actually made it to the Senate and the House and they approve it, whatever, however that get processed, please do reach out to us and focus on Liberia, or you can reach out to any of our shows on here to give us that information. We would like to know because I think this is a big of a deal in terms of the resources that that are in our corridor that is being exploited. That at 62 billion, give us half or even give us 40% of that, and we should be fine with that. Don't just
Yeah, we set our
don't.
sovereign wealth fund. We try to invest other places to get high returns so that when we are gone, we can at least take it and do something else with it. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
give us that.
let me hear your closing thoughts so we can wrap up.
No, it's bad. The concession model, like Duco Scientific said, the concession model, the old Tottenham concession model that we had, it was very bad.
Yeah.
It was what led to growth or development, right? And we cannot have that. We cannot have people making money at the expense of the country. Our country is too old to be making these kind of lopsided deals wherein we get our people don't benefit, the environment get destroyed, the community get destroyed, the water sources get polluted, and there's nothing to show for. At the end of the day, the foreigners go back to the country and use this money to better themselves, and our people are dying from curable diseases, sicknesses. There's no hospital medicines and whatnot. We can't keep all these things are function of the kind of decision we make at the national level, right? These things are function of what your government do at the national level. The people you elect, this is a function of what the fact that you don't have good schools and your children don't have good education or they are miseducated in most instances, right? Is these are the functions of those things. So that was before I won't close on this thing and I won't make it simple because people think about these things are complex things. It's very simple. A few years back, there was the mathematician and the scientist. They came up with a model. They call it the Cobb's Douglas model. In that model, it says for you to increase your output, you have to you have to do certain things with the raw material that you have. In this case, the raw material that you have is your human capital and your physical capital, and the prevailing technology is called the total factor production. How you
Mhm.
transform those raw material into
The
um
resources,
I transform those material into meaningful resources to make it. This is how your output is going to turn out to be. Meaning, the more you educate your people, the more you have a healthy population. You educate the skill set of your population is high. You adopt the latest technology and so forth and so on. You have productivity in the country. Your productivity yield is going to go up. Basically, that's what it is. So if you take that matter, I'm synthesizing it in a way so that it's simple. So your government's supposed to build school, they're supposed to build hospital, they're supposed to build road, they're supposed to build all the things for you. For your children to go to school, they have to be healthy. For the school to get good teacher, the teacher got to get good pay. So all those things, then we have to do all those things. That's what the government's supposed to do so that we can produce tomorrow, so that we can produce good citizens, and a good citizen will end up producing goods and services that are high quality, and then we can sell it to other people and we can sell it in the country. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's what the other people out there doing. The people that are baking, that we can go to the city giving you aid. That aid they giving you, that what the people then did. The people then to their own of people then send it to school, adapted the latest technology, build hospital, build road, build all those things, and they were able to produce stuff and get extra. That the extra we can go to them to get or for them to get it for free. What about how our own people then they're just wasting away? Our government supposed to be able to do the same for you. And how you do that is by negotiating these contracts, making sure that we get the best contracts for the best buck for our money, right? So that we don't left giving the short end of the stick. We can't continue to do this. This country is 177 years. We're going to be 178. The country is almost 200 years. It will soon be 200 years now. And you can't be a 200-year country and still be doing the same thing, right? They say fool me once, a mistake. Fool me twice, then you're a real fool now, right? This same guy with the French
You
people say,
sound like President Bush.
yeah, I'm a man now.
Fool me one,
No,
fool me
fool
can't
me
get fooled
one,
again.
then we can't fool me again. Yeah, you know how it is. That my man. Yeah, but that's basically what it is. Fool me, can't get fooled again. Whatever that pushed. But no, but that's on a very serious note. Those are the things we are talking about, right? It's very important that the government negotiate these things right because they are a function of what your community turn up to be. The reason I like to give the example because again, when government works well, a lot of things can happen, good can happen. I grew up in a place called Bonneville, even though it's not recognizable again. Back in the day, Bonneville was a middle class enclave in the country, right? The reason I turned out to be what I turned out to be was because my environment, right? The people that I saw, even though there were market women there, but I saw lawyers, I saw doctors, I saw accountants, I saw nurses. There were career people there also, right? So those were the people that I saw in my environment, in my community and
What year
whatnot
was this? In 1940s?
in the 80s. Bonneville was built in 1977, and I moved there in 86. My mom moved in the estate in 86, and I lived my rest of my life from 86 up to Mayhew or wherever it is there. But that was what I saw, and what I saw is what I internalized, right?
Yeah.
And the rest is history. So we have to be building this kind of structure. When government works well, this is what happened. You produce people like me, people like Gabby, and whatnot, right? Because the government kind of work. Not that it was perfect, but it works to a large extent, right? It invested in the right places at the right time. That's what can happen when you do that. So we need to take that model and carry it around the country and do the same thing. It can be done. People just have to just do the right thing. You have the corruptions have to stop. People have to stop. The government has to start passing credible budgets and negotiating good deals and whatnot. And the rest can and those things can happen also. That's my
Yeah.
closing.
Thank you. Mine, I will be very quick. I think there's two things I want to close with. One is I am puzzled, appalled by the level of ignorance this government has applied in terms of how it deals with concessions, given that we have had history already of mismanaging concession. But then again, there was 66 concession, right? That were, bogus. And it was done under the current president. So the fact that he comes in as a president again and secretly signed this deal with HPX that is worth, in terms of resources, worth billions of dollars without really doing his due diligence and really getting a lot out of it. It's it perpetuates a system with our country that we're not a serious group of people and we don't know our value. And this is exactly what this transaction actually shows. As I said, even if we have gotten even 25% of that 62 billion, we structure it in that way, um, putting clauses and covenants that will protect the interests of Liberia and Liberians as well. I think we could have gone from being at the bottom of a frontier market to maybe middle tier emerging market, or maybe high tier emerging market, right? Because I think this deal alone could have done that for us. But I think we dropped the ball. But we have, and I think somebody said it on a show yesterday. We have money in this country in Liberia, but we're leaving that and going to go back for breadcrumbs in other people's country, and they're making fool out of us, right? So that's my take on that. The other part, in terms of the current minister of finance, I think he has an enormous task ahead in terms of uh, where we are economically. There's a lot to do, and I think he should get away from putting that much pressure on himself by casting a drag net in terms of doing this and doing that, climate change, and uh, stick to a niche, pick two, three, four items you want to do and do them well. But by embellishing all these things that you want to do, and you don't have the resources, first of all. I don't know how you're going to raise that budget continually year over year to be able to do that. How are you going to propose the cutting of subsidies to take that money and now redirect it into the agenda of the president? How is that going to happen? I don't know how you're going to um, you know, expand the tax base without being able to identify people and being able to identify assets that you'll be able to tax. You cannot tax your concessions or multinational, or else you will see them packing their bags and leaving. The tax rate currently in our country, I think, is about 25%. The corporate tax rate. If you push that any further higher than that, you risk losing multinational companies to leave. So it's there's a lot of complexity. Don't get too excited about being a minister of finance. I think you need to really focus on in terms of delivering and deliverables, and focusing on that. And lastly, the thing I continue to hone in on is we have a debt right now that is at 2.4, 2.5 billion climbing. Uh, by next week, we will be in an economic cycle, right? We're leaving from this expansionary, tightened cycle where the rates were higher, to gradually we will see rates going down. If I were you, that would be one of the first thing I put on my agenda, on my board, in terms of things to do within the next 2 years, which is restructure this debt. I mean, you start looking at the interest payment on each loan and see how you can bundle up together and look at partners that will be willing to do that for you. You will save on the interest payment on that. You can take that saving and apply it to some of your policy agenda that you want to do. If not, it will strangulate every agenda item that you want to do. So for me, I think there's a lot to do. You have your handful, but those are my
think
thoughts, and I will leave
think
it
the
on that.
Fed's gonna cut rates?
Yeah, yeah, it's going to happen. The probability is high. It's 25%, 25 basis point next week. Yep,
Oh,
I
you
agree.
think
I
so?
think it's going to, yeah. Some people are saying that it's going to be 50 basis point, but no, I think they're going to take it easy because
No, they will
of,
not do 50
yeah,
basis
yeah,
points. No, it's
yeah, it's
just
going to be
too 50
25.
basis points is stupid. It'll
Yeah.
be
And
too
if we
much. Yeah.
continue
Yeah, a
down
quarter.
this trend, there will be another 25 basis point by December. So, um, yeah, and then we'll in a new cycle. So, this is a great opportunity, not just for companies and countries. This is a great opportunity for individuals, every consumer as well. For those who bought houses at high interest rate, this is a time that you now start looking at restructuring your debt and saving yourself some money. There will be a lot of people coming from the sideline to start buying houses again because the rates are cheaper. But on the greater end as well, for emerging markets such as ours, people will now start leaving these high yield money market to now start looking at countries such as Liberia, Ivory Coast, and emerging market to bring their money. If we do the right thing, we can attract some of those people and have some good
Before
foreign
we
direct investment.
before we go, who are the people that usually have you looked at the Liberian treasury market? Who really buys Liberian treasury?
So,
If the
so if
treasury
you
in
look at
Nigeria.
And I got a good insight when we had this audit report. If you look at the audit report, there are some companies in Liberia that are construction companies. Some of them
Oh my man,
put in.
wait. George Brown said he watching from Sano County, Greenville. George, tell my auntie hello. She living in town. Tell her say her nephew say hello. But go ahead.
No. Go ahead. You can shout him out. That's fine.
No, George. No, I finished
I'm
shouting George.
excited the fact that he has internet down there. So
Yeah.
that's a
That's what I'm
whole
saying, George.
different level.
Tell my auntie hello. She living in town. Tell her hello there. Town is almost like a suburb part of Greenville.
Really, I didn't. Huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Sano County. Yeah. But yeah, this is a great opportunity. We work this economic cycle that we're coming into is a great opportunity, especially for emerging market. So right now, if you
Yeah,
look
but
at
the treasury, you said you were talking about the treasury. I was
yeah, so
trying
if
to.
you look at the treasury, right? If you go back to the audit report, the CBI audit report, go all the way to the bottom, you will see there are a lot of company, construction company, private companies that invested in it. Some of them buy 500,000 of our treasury at 7%, my man. That's a lot of money. So you
What's the
invest.
tenor? What's the tenor on them?
It's the
Is it a
rates are
year, 90? No,
so you
like
can do three
how long
months.
they are for? Like
You can
90
do you
days,
can do
1 year.
You can do 3 months. You can do 90. Yeah, 3 months. You can do. I think there's 6 months. There's a year.
Do they actually
Uh,
get do they actually get an interest payment on them? Do they actually remit them? The
yeah,
government
or
actually
else they
pays
won't. They
people
won't
for
be
them?
in there. Yeah, I suppose they are. Yeah, there is a what's this company name? Lloyd Capital, which is has this partnership with LBDI. I think they're the broker. They're the broker in terms of for the
Buying
government.
like brain treasury.
Yeah, so they facilitate that, which is so let's say even if the government of Liberia was selling it for 4% or 7%, so the lowest rate on there is 4%, the highest is 7%. So let's say and that's pretty much, as you know, in finance based on duration. The longer I'm
Mm-hmm.
exposed to you, the more money I will charge, the more
Thank
interest I
you.
will
Yeah,
charge
yeah,
you, right? So
yeah.
some are 4%, the others are I think about up to 7%. So you put in 100K, you're getting, you know, um, 7% on that
Seven
100K.
percent. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not bad.
So yeah, it's there, but I don't think people are aware of it, and I don't think they make the effort to really market that and really raise domestic revenue as well. Issue that. So that's the it's a tragedy. Yeah,
Okay.
but that brings us to the end of this day, and for you guys that stuck along with us, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as we always say here, we are all Liberians. Whether we live in diaspora or not, I still have my Liberian passport. So
I do too.
you go argue with your grandfather
All
with that one. All right, guys. Good
right.
night. Bye.
Good night.
We are